I can't believe this is happening. I'm going to pretend like you're a vast audience of people who don't know me. I'm Heather Thompson, and as maybe you know, because you're here, we are collaborating with John Craig's Trust, Jeffrey Landorf, and Pinakothek on an exhibition that will be happening in the library this summer, and coinciding with Upstate Art Weekend. This project, I just want to say, is a collaboration that Colleen Teeger, I've been working on with Jeffrey and Mika, trying to understand how we could make a cage exhibition in collaboration. There was a previous exhibition of mushroom drawings here in the library, so there is a precedent for connecting with the Cage Trust, but this is something altogether really different. And I'm going to let Jeffrey really talk about what it is, but I just wanted to welcome you all here to participate in something that's really happening in real time. And so I'll turn it over to Jeffrey, who's going to talk about this process and what it is.
Thank you so much. It's been so great working with Heather and Helene here at the library and the whole library staff. When I first got to BARD just a little over a year ago, and just trying to meet people, I think we met downstairs, and they had said, "Oh, you should come up and see the first floor. We're making it a wonderful new space. And by the way, if you want to do anything here, let us know." And I said, "I hope you mean that, because now we are." And I had been very thrilled to, when I got to the Cage Trust, learn about a work I did not know about, I'll admit, previously, called Museumcircle, that Cage did in 1991 in Munich, where he was invited by the Modern Art Museum there to curate an exhibition. He asked them to pull out a map and to put a dot where the museum was. A circle was drawn around that dot, and he asked them to identify every museum in the circle. There were 19, very different kinds of museums. And they asked all the museums to please supply, vaguely, a list of 10 representative items that might be borrowed or loaned. And that was it. And then they used Cage's chance procedures, which you're going to learn in a moment. We're using the exact same procedures to use chance to pick, in that case, one item from each list, and that became the exhibition. So it's sort of a cabinet of curiosities. The idea being to remove, really, curatorial authority. So this is a anarchistic means of curation that can yield wonderful surprises, but it's not about the ego of the curator. We're not selecting what goes in this exhibition. For this one, which we're calling Cagecircle, which will open last weekend in June, as you just heard, and will be up into July, we solicited every collection that we could think of at BARD. Rather than look for museums, it can take about a year to arrange borrowing an item from a museum. Insurance and cartage and storage, it's complicated. So we decided to keep it in BARD, and it's also kind of a little gift to BARD from the John Cage Trust and the library. And to bring things together, you may come for something from CCS, but then you'll discover something you've never seen from the field collection, field station collection, etc. And you can walk along the table here and see that there are 22 lists of items. They all have at least 10 items and as many as 18 items. We will pick maybe only one from each, but maybe as many as 3, we think. We won't know till we do it, and we're going to do it together. We know the cases we have that can display things. So we're just going to keep going until we have filled all the cases. And we're going to do that here kind of map-wise. We're going to actually put the little cards that are chosen where they will go later. And then at the end of June, we'll have the real items. So we don't have all, I don't know what it is, 400 items here. If we select 30 items, those 30 items will actually come here, and then we'll place them very carefully, like any museum installation, and they'll be cited and so forth. But unlike, say, going to the Venice Biennale, where we talk about the curator's vision, we're left out of this. We're asking questions. The first question was, who has collections at BARD? And we did a little research and came up with that, and we reached out. We have 22 lists now. And there is not room for all of these amazing items. There are many items. I think if I asked everyone here to pick out 30 items to display, we would have 30 different lists. And each one would reflect our own taste and ego. Cage, who was very inspired by Zen Buddhism, he began studying with D.T. Suzuki at Columbia, in the late 40s, and that influenced his work for the rest of his life. And a life's project was, in fact, non-intentioned, ways of creating art that are not about one's ego. However, he would say also, just because I use chance doesn't mean I don't make choices. So he's asking the questions. And what I love about using chance, it makes you a better questioner. It makes you refine the questions you ask in a very profound way, but you accept the answers. And I think it's a great way to lead one's life. Ask better questions, accept what answers come, and deal with them. Using chance, every question yields a new question. So our first one was, who has a list? And we're going to get to which list are we selecting from first, and then which item in the list, and that's what we'll do. So to back up a little bit, John Cage originally used this book, not this particular one. We have the one he owned in our library. Come visit us at the John Cage Trust. But this is the one he actually recommended, the Bollingen edition, translation of the I Ching, the Chinese Book of Changes. You can use yarrow sticks or other means. Most people use coins. We're not going to do that part right now, but I'm going to teach you how to do it real quick. There are many websites that show you. Here is one. You throw 3 coins, and those 3 coins give you, if heads are 3 each and tails are 2 each, when you add up 3 coins that are heads or tails, you get a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9. Everyone following me? I'm going to go fast with this because we're not going to really, if we were really using I Ching, this would take many, many hours to do. And Cage's early works took many, many hours to do the calculations. We're going to end up using a little computer program that was made for John Cage that replicates throwing coins. So we'll get to that, but I thought it'd be fun to show you how the actual I Ching works. So you would come up with a dilemma. So let's make pretend we're doing it. Let's say our dilemma is, we'd like to do an exhibition here that somehow represents 22 different collections here at Bard. How might we do it? That might be our dilemma. And so we would cast coins. And if you're doing it for real, when you cast the coins, you end up first building, as you can see, 3 heads gives you a 9. You see it's a line with a little mark in the middle. That's called a moving line. I'll explain that in a moment. 2 heads and a tail, broken line. 1 head and 2 tails, straight line. 3 tails, a broken line with a little mark in the middle. That mark means you're going to make a second hexagram, which is what you build from this. You build from the bottom up, line by line. So you cast 3 coins 6 times to make a hexagram. Hex, 6, gram, picture, right? It's a 6-line Chinese character called a hexagram. There's 64 of them. Here are all of them. And really, they're made up of a lower trigram and an upper trigram, right? Tri makes hex. And as you see, you can match up, see all solid, all broken, etc. So you end up with 64 possible combinations. There are 64 little parables in this book, and there are different translations. So what the moving lines would be is you actually make 2 hexagrams. We're not going to do that now, but you have your original, any moving line becomes its opposite. So some of the hexagram might be the same and some might change. Does that all make sense? So that the first hexagram gives you a kind of answer to your dilemma, a direction to go in. The moving hexagram gives you its potential. It's not terribly unlike the tarot cards can be reversed. Different, but you get the idea. A hexagram at the beginning is different than a hexagram that's a moving hexagram. Cage would do both at the beginning, and both would be used to write music. And the way he did it was not really by consulting the parable, although he read the book a lot and was very moved by it. It ended up being really a way to generate numbers. So he would start off with charts of 64 things. It might be 64 different pitches. It might be 64 different dynamic markings where there'd be repetitions, say. 64 timbres, 64 instruments, 64 groups of things, etc. And he would end up with a hexagram that would be a number, and then he would go to his chart of, say, 64 pitches, and if he ended up with hexagram number 25, it would be choose pitch number 25. Does that make sense? Or rhythms. He used it for every element of music. His first work that used this was Music of Changes, inspired by the Book of Changes, which was written in 1951 at Piano Works, very hard to play, and everything was chance determined. Changed the course of music, forever. Okay, so just for fun, why does someone just yell out a number from 1 to 64?
34.
34, okay. So let's just make pretend that that's what we were doing, and I'm going to just read to you what 34 says, and let's see how we might have interpreted that. We've already asked our first questions, but if we were really using the I Ching as a divining tool, we would read, and by the way, it would be, the trigram on the bottom is all solid. You can see it there, and on top it's solid, broken, broken. Okay. The position of each line means something, and whether it's solid or broken. And if you read all the commentaries, you get detailed interpretations for every line. I'm just going to read you the overall interpretation. Okay. This particular hexagram is called, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, forgive me if anyone speaks Chinese, Ta Chuan. The power of the great is how it's translated, and here's what it says. The great lines, that is, the light, strong lines, are powerful. 4 light lines have entered the hexagram from below and are about to ascend higher. So you see the 3 sols at the bottom, and it's sounding pretty good so far, I'd say. The upper trigram is Qian, the arousing. The lower is Qian, the creative. Qian is strong. Qian produces movement. The union of movement and strength gives the meaning of the power of the great. So, very auspicious, I think, if that's our hexagram. We don't know what moving hexagram might come, but I'm sure its potential would be very great indeed. We're going to act it out. So, for years, Cage was throwing coins laboriously, consulting the I Ching for every element of a piece. You can imagine the hours and hours and hours of discipline it takes to create even one line of music. Discipline being another kind of magic word for Cage. So what he ended up using later was this little program, which was developed by Andrew Culver, his assistant for years. Make it a little bigger. Okay. Called IC, which stands for I Ching, right? Book of Changes. Can you all see this? There we go. Okay. So I'm going to show you how it works. And once you use it, you can bring it up on your phone. You go to anarchicharmony.org. And then you have some choices, click I Ching, and it brings you to this page. I think when you first see it, you don't know what on earth to do with it, but it's really quite simple. So at the top, IC, TIC is for time. It works the same way, it's just you can put in multiples of time. 20 seconds, 30 seconds, if you want to use chance for how long things will be, right? But generally, I Ching, it's on a certain level a random number generator, but it is based on throwing coins for the I Ching. So whenever we throw any of the coins, we could have, where you see it says bias, see my cursor? Yeah. We could have no bias, and then it's just a random number generator. I like using bias. It's a funny word to have with the I Ching, because the I Ching has no bias. But what it does, if we were only choosing from 64 possibilities, it would be just like throwing coins. It generates a hexagram and a number, and then it gives you that number. But because we're choosing from different numbers of things, some lists have 10 things, some lists have 16 things. We have 22 lists. So if we want to ask, which list do we start with? We're using bias, and what bias does, it replicates throwing coins that give you a number from 1 to 64, and then it maps that number on whatever gamut of numbers you've asked from. I hope I'm not losing everybody. And I'm not a mathematician, but when you play with it, it becomes clear. So if the number of questions is the first thing here, and let's say we want to ask one question. Which list out of 22 are we going to select from first? Right? That might be our question. So our bottom number, BOT, would be 1, and our top number would be 22. And there's bias. So if I click toss, which is the equivalent of tossing 3 coins 6 times, it will give us a number from 1 to 64 that we won't see, that it then maps onto 1 to 10. Does that make sense? So it's called bias because I don't know what it'll be, but certain numbers do actually get weighted a little bit because of the way you map 64 onto another number and the throwing of 3 coins 6 times. Okay, don't worry about the math, it does it for you. So I'm going to click toss, and there we are. If we were doing it from fresh, we've printed out charts, but we would start with list number 11. Okay? I won't bother, well, I can show you real quick. The first list we made, this one, has numbers 1 to 22 sorted a bunch of times. We don't know how many times we'll run through, but every time we run through the picks, we'll go through every list, but in a different order, randomized, brought on by chance. So to do that, I wanted non-repeating from 1 to 22, and I asked that question 22 times. And what we end up with, you see, is a list of 22 numbers where no numbers repeated. So it's 1 to 22 in a non-ego-based order. And if I just keep doing it, I get many sortings of 1 to 22. So that's what this is. And Cage would, and most of the time though, we simply made charts of numbers from 1 to 4, from 1 to 5, from 1 to 6, and 1 to 7, where they can repeat, because it's going to be a different list each time. So, for example, we can actually start now making our selection. So, on my which list, the first number is 19, and then I'm going to cross off. So we could go to number 19.
Here we go in real time.
In real time, it's happening, folks. Yeah, we're going to go to number 19. And the question now is, which item from list number 19? So if someone would tell me how many items are on list 19.
Okay. So you have a total of 11.
So we need now another chart, which is numbers, random numbers from 1 to 11. And here it is. And the first number is 8. So what is the 8th item? And I cross it off.
I'm lost.
Okay, I'll go backwards. So first we asked,
Step back.
I had random assortments of numbers of 1 to 22 a bunch of
Right.
times. And the first number is 19. Okay? And so we go to list 19.
Right, got that.
Now we need to know which